Welcome back to One Dish, Two Ways. By the time this video comes out, it's going to be the start of fall, football season is starting, and we all love the soups and the stews that make us feel so comforting. So we're starting that season off with chili. One dish, two ways. Because chili, to me, is one of the most perfect football foods because you can do so many things with it. You can make it chili mac, you can put it over some fries, you can put it on a baked potato, you can make it into nachos. Yeah, there's a lot you can do with it. So we're going to make our chili today. Now this is based off the recipe Joe has been making for years, and it's actually the stuff he used to sell in our sub shop when we had one. So we're going to start with, this will be his pot, this will be my pot. Both skillets or pots have been warming, so they're ready for the onions. And we're going to do a cup and a half of chopped onions for both dishes. So no oil needed. The onions will sweat out enough to keep the bottom. We're just going to make sure we stir it around. That's what I'm trying to say, so they don't stick. Okay, so we got a cup and a half. I had some red onions left over in the fridge, so we're using both kinds. Okay, so we'll use mine with that one. We'll use with this one with his. So I just small diced these onions. I did a big batch of them yesterday, so that way they're ready to go all week, and I'm using them for this dish and other dishes this week. So we're just going to keep moving these around. So this particular pot here is a ceramic and lined with, what do you call that? Cast iron. And then this is just a regular pot over here. But both needed to be deep enough. There's many times that Joe will triple this recipe and make it in, what are those cookers called? Like those roasters. And then he will have it for, like, freeze it into portions. We're not doing that today because I needed the two separate pots here. So that's why we're not doing that. So we're just going to let these sweat for a little bit. And then I'll tell you what I did yesterday. So I had to make hamburger for a couple different dishes, and he had bought it in bulk. So I actually went ahead and already cooked up 1.5 pounds of the ground beef. So it is ready to go. If that has not already been done, you could add that in with the onions and then drain it off and then continue the recipe. And I will put that in the recipe description. So these onions are coming along nicely. You don't want the heat too much. You just want like a medium heat because you want them to get a little color and flavor, but you don't want to like burn them. And don't walk away, because that's sometimes my problem as I start doing. Okay, so as you can see, these onions are looking good in both pans. So what I want to do is I want to toast the spices a little bit before we add the other ingredients. So I'm going to, in mine, I'm going to add the homemade taco seasoning that you saw a video or so ago, because I don't want any salt in mine. So I'm going to add 4 tablespoons, which is the equivalent to 1 pack of taco seasoning. 1 1/3 pack is what I should say, because I want it to be very flavorful. So by doing this, I'm going to sweat some of the toasted seasonings a little bit. Now to Joe's, we're just going to add a ton of, probably 4 or 5 tablespoons of chili powder. And he does want a little cayenne today. He doesn't always. That's kind of like his little secret ingredient. That may have been too much, babe. So I'm going to take that out. That was a lot. Okay, you said you want smoked paprika too. Okay, I can do that. And we're just going to add a couple tablespoons of smoked paprika. Okay. So we've got, oh, it smells so good in here. Everything's toasting up nicely. I just want that, you don't have to do it this way. I just want some of that, like I said, it just toasts it and it brings out that flavor. Now, for mine, and the seasonings will get to you. Now, because mine's veggie and bean, we're going to add 1 cup of carrots from our garden that I small diced. We have yellow and orange carrots. And I'm going to add 1 cup of diced green pepper to mine. So we're going to get those sweating a little bit. Now to Joe's, it's actually time to add the hamburger to his. So you see his are looking really, really good. So we're going to add the cup and a half, or the pound and a half of cooked ground beef to his. You can hear that. I'm going to turn that down because I don't want this to overdo. This is my ultra heat burner, so I have to really watch this one. Okay, we're going to get that going. So for mine, oh, everything's looking good. You can tell those spices are going. Now, if we weren't videoing, I would probably have the fan to help with those spices, but then you guys wouldn't be able to hear everything. So, the next ingredient that we need to add, I'm going to go ahead and, while my veggies continue to sweat and release some of their liquid out, I'm going to finish Joe's chili. So, we're going to add the beans to his chili. I cooked up a bunch of kidney beans the other day, or excuse me, 2 days ago, to be ready for this. But you can also use canned beans. I think historically he's used chili beans. But we're going to add 2 cups of beans to his chili. And let's see, I need 2 cups for me. So we'll do like 2 1/4 for him. Get those stirred around. And you can use any bean you like. You like black beans? Use black beans. You like pinto beans? Use pinto beans. It is completely up to you. Now he goes simple on the liquid. It's perfect. He uses 1 can. This is a 28-ounce can of crushed tomatoes. We're going to add that in. Make sure you get it all out. Okay. And then he adds 1 6-ounce can of tomato paste. Now, you might say, Sheila, that's going to be awfully thick. You are correct about that. That is why we're going to add a couple, excuse me. You get that caught in your throat and then you can't get it out. We're going to add a couple cups, this is 4 cups, I'm going to add half of it, of water to it. And I'm going to use, oh, I need a little bit more to get half of that. And we want to make sure we get all that tomato sauce, or those crushed tomatoes. So I'm just stirring this around. And we're going to pour that in. Just like that. Give his a nice stir. Now, chili, just like marinara sauce or spaghetti sauce, we have always felt needs to be cooked for at least an hour. Sometimes if you want to put it on before you leave for work, you can let it simmer all day in your crock pot. And or we always find they're better the next day. So, if you're having a party on Sunday, cook the chili on Saturday, and then just you have to heat it, put it in a crock pot to heat it up for the next day. It is so good that way. We plan to eat this for dinner tonight, so we're just going to let it simmer in the afternoon. So Joe's is all stirred up now. Honey, you want to take a taste and make sure that your spices are okay, or if I need to add more spices to yours. And I might need to add garlic to yours. Mine has garlic in it in that seasoning. So, okay, my veggies are looking good. So I'm going to add my meat, if you will. And I'm taking an online cooking class, and they suggested using riced cauliflower. And I honestly would never have thought of that in chili. But I'm going to take their advice because I had riced cauliflower in the freezer, and I just let this thaw. You could put it in the microwave, but I just let it thaw on the counter for a couple hours knowing we were going to make this. And now I'm going to add the same thing to mine, the crushed tomatoes and the tomato paste. Honey, did you need some garlic in yours or more chili powder? Okay. He says no, if you can't see him. That's what I like about these one dish, two ways. We really do cook like this. We just take ingredients. You know, I looked at several different chili recipes because I actually honestly had not made a veggie chili yet since I've been in this lifestyle. So I was like, well, Joe's is good. but how can I make it all veggie and bean? And when I saw that about the cauliflower, I figured peppers and onions, that was kind of a given. But when it said that about the cauliflower, I was like, oh, that's a great idea. So that's why I'm using that. And then I will add, this should be 2 cups of beans to mine. Probably 2 1/4 cups for both of us at the end. It probably was 4 1/2 cups. Now let's stir mine around. And then I'll taste mine for seasoning too. You want to taste it as you go because you don't want to end up at the end and you have to add so much that then you might go over. I've done that before. You're trying to make up for what you maybe didn't get done. Now, I will tell you when we come back, we'll tell you his secret to his chili. And I think why it was so popular when we had our sub shop. But we'll have to show you that when we come back because we need them to cook first. So Joe's is back up to a small boil. So his is ready. Everything's stirred in. I've got the tomato paste all stirred in. It is time to cover his and turn it down to low. And we're going to let that simmer for about 90 minutes. Just like that. Mine, I've got to get it back up to that little bit of a boil, and then we will turn it down and let it simmer also for 90 minutes. Now mine, you just really want the vegetables to get tender. Those beans, when I cook my beans in the Instapot, and I did that because I had a lot of dried beans, so I figured why not? I do let them, no matter what the instructions say, I let the Instapot self-steam. I don't manual release the pressure, so I want to make sure those beans are tender. There's nothing worse than getting a spoonful of chili and the beans are not done. That literally will make me gag and I will be done. So I always want to make sure the beans are tender. I mean, not so much we're going to mush them and make them into refried beans, but you want them tender with the thing. You don't want to be getting into a crunchy one. So, and you could do tofu in here. You could grate some tofu if you wanted. There's soy curls that some people use. I have personally never used them to get more of the meaty flavor, but I'm very happy with veggie and sometimes that happens on this burner. If you go too low, the flame burns out. So I gotta really watch it. That's just our oven, but our stove. But so good. So let me taste mine for seasonings. Perfect. Perfect, perfect. When I give you the measurements, I'm going to tell you how much I use total in veggies. So you have the option, switch it up. Now mine, I guess, if I were to taste this one, that's going to be more chili. This is more taco. And that's just because I had that seasoning made, so I wanted to use some of that seasoning. Oh, here we go. Starting to bubble. Look at that. There we go. Starting to bubble. When the whole thing starts moving like a little, there you go. You know it's going to start bubbling. So that's going to be awesome. So mine is ready to turn down to low. We're just going to get this on a simmer. And then, well, there you go. And then we'll be back once we're ready to serve and show you how we're going to serve those. So, catch us in just a few minutes. We'll be right back. Welcome back. It is time to eat some chili. Woo, woo. I do want to clarify 2 things. I was not very specific, and I also did not do my own rule that I have said on multiple times on these videos. So when I measured the spices on mine. Why I didn't use that same spoon and do it on Joe's and I just shook it in there and you saw what happened. I put too much cayenne pepper in there. So don't do what I did. I know better than that and I still did it. And the other thing I should have explained better was when we added the spices on top of the veggies, that was for the spices to bloom, meaning that it kind of roasted those spices to get those flavors out. And for a chili, I think that's important. It might not be for every soup and stew, but I think for chili that it is. And I also want to point out that the reason I have made other chilies, but I always come back to Joe's, and you can see here why. Do you see how thick these chilies are? And I think the reason is, I've come to the conclusion with being a home cook and this cooking class that I have taken, the reason is because Joe uses tomato paste. I think when you use a can of tomatoes, or if you were to use fresh tomatoes, and I'm not saying you can't, I'm just saying what happens is, those tomatoes let out even more water, which means it's going to be more soupy than stewy, which to me is what chili normally is. So I think that's part of the reason for that. So that's just a tip for you. So that's why I think using the tomato paste is going to make it more that way. Joe, did you want to do yours with the motorboat? Okay, so let me get that out. Okay, I'm back. Sorry, I forgot that we needed to do this. The other thing I wanted to say about this, so I let them cook on simmer for about 90 minutes, and then I turned them off about 20 minutes ago. Number one, just so they could sit and the flavors meld even more, but number two, so we could actually eat this on camera and not burn our faces off. But what I wanted to tell you, the tip that Joe has always done, is Joe likes to put an immersion blender in here and kind of it thickens it actually even more because you work some of those beans. That's what we're going to do. So you don't have to do, if you do not have an immersion blender, you could take 2 or 3 cups or 2 or 3 potato smasher, or you could take some out and put it like if you have like a Ninja blender, and you could do that too. So we're just going to turn this on, and we're not going to do it the whole way. He's just always done it a little bit, and it does make a difference. Oh my gosh, this stuff smells so good. I love all the spices of chili. Is this good, honey? If you go a little bit further, let's say that you just have a little bit left, and you go a little bit more with it. Let me just set this aside and I'll stir it. Then it actually turns it more into what I call hot dog chili. You see, that just kind of made it, the beans, no, it didn't do that to all the beans, but it's just the thickness that Joe liked. And like I said, it always sold well at the sub shop when we had the sub shop. So let's go ahead and try this. Now tonight, I'm not going to show it on camera, but the way I plan to eat this is on a baked potato, and that's going to be my meal. And I'm super excited about that because I got the cauliflower in there, so I got my green, I got my beans, and I'm going to have a baked potato. I think, Joe, you said you were going to eat yours with a grilled cheese sandwich. So I'll be making that for him. But we want to make sure we try these for you, and I will give you all the different ways you can use the chili. The other thing is a baked potato bar. It's a great topping for a baked potato bar. Let's come over here. So, like I said earlier, I'm taking this online cooking class, and I am loving it. I'm learning a ton about whole food, plant-based cooking. And one of the things they had us do was make this cashew sour cream. Now, who would have thought you could turn cashews and some seasonings into sour cream? But you can. So